Make some noise for Ryan Himmel. Come on.
How's everybody doing today? You good? Getting a little feedback. Can you guys hear me all right? You can? Are you sure? Are you positive? All right. I need you to make some noise if you came in today with a dream ready to be activated. Come on. That was cute. They were like, yay! No, I need you to make some noise if you came in with a dream ready to be activated. That was a little better. Well, I am extremely excited to be here. Months in the making, months of preparation, and you're here, I'm here, we're all here, we're finally here, ready to have some fun. Is that cool with you? Yeah. All right. Well, as you heard a little bit about me in my little bio there, but I want to tell you a little bit about who I am, where I come from, what I do. When I was 10 years old, I learned how to juggle. We moved more out towards the country, and it just wasn't for me, to be honest. I mean, I didn't like being so far away from everybody, all my friends, my school. I just wasn't really into it. So at 10 years old, I complained about every little thing that I could. Everything that I could find, I was complaining about. Until my brother, he was 5 years older than me, and he still is 5 years older than me, actually. And he came to me one day and he said, "Ryan, I'm really tired of you complaining about everything. It's getting really annoying. Your little brother, and I'm not really having it." That's not exactly how he said it, but to me at 10 years old, that's kind of how I portrayed it as. So he came to me and he said, "I'm going to teach you something that hopefully will get your mind off things." So I was like, okay, like I'm willing to try anything, right? Like, I mean, I'm super bored. I have nothing to do. I mean, I go out in my backyard and it's just a field. What am I supposed to do with that? Just take off running? So he sat me down and he began to teach me how to juggle. And when people ask me how I learned, I always tell them I did it out of boredom. And really that's about 95% truth. The other 5%, which I didn't know at the time, was because it was my calling. Anybody have a calling here today? Anybody? If you say you don't have a calling, then I'm going to call you a liar. Is that cool? Thank you. So he taught me how to juggle, and at the time I remember grabbing 3 random objects: some rolled up socks, this glass eyeball, and a Nerf football. The most random objects that I could find in my house to juggle. That's why when people ask me now, like, "Hey, can you juggle this podium, you and a chair?" And I say, yeah, because when I first started, I was juggling the weirdest objects. So that happened when I was 10 years old. I learned how to juggle. It took me about 2 weeks before I could actually juggle 3 balls and not drop anything. That's impressive, right? I was a professional at that point. I could on top of the world. Something like that. 3 years later, when I was 13, I landed my very first juggling job. This lady called me. She said, "Ryan, I want you to come juggle for my son's birthday party. He's turning 6. I said, okay. So I was really excited. I put this act together, and I go to this house, knock on the door, said, "Hi, I'm the juggler." She said, "Okay, come on in." So I walk in, and what I see in the living room floor is that there's like 6 or 7 little kids, and they were just kind of looking at me like I was an alien. I was like, "How you guys doing today?" And they're like, "You guys good?" Okay, cool. Good talk. So I came in, I was dressed to the nines, I had my khaki shorts on and my baggy t-shirt, and I told them to hit the track. And they hit this track, and it was on a CD, because I didn't have like an iPod, so I actually had a CD. And I put it in the CD player, and it was this Latin song. Why I picked a Latin song, I'm not really sure. But it was super upbeat, and I did my act. And, you know, as I finished my act, it was like 3 or 4 minutes later, they started clapping. I was like, okay, cool. Like, I felt on top of the world at that point. But I wasn't on top of the world until I was going to walk out of their house, and the lady that originally called me, she walked up to me. She said, "Ryan, thank you so much for coming." And she handed me this $10 bill. Do you know what I can do with a $10 bill? Nothing. I mean, at 10 years old, to me, at the time, that seemed like a lot. I felt like I could actually make money. It was a realization like, well, I can actually make this a business. I can, if she's willing to pay me, then why can't this person pay me? Why can't the CEO of this company pay me? Why can't the president of this company pay me? It opened my mind up to a whole new realm of things. I realized that I can actually make money. But it doesn't stop there. A couple years after that, I got this word from God, and you know, God spoke to me. He said, Ryan, you've been doing great. You've been juggling, performing. You've been entertaining. You've been using your talents, and I really appreciate it. But you know, you also have a voice. I said, well, I don't like talking in front of people. It's not my thing. Like, I'd rather just juggle in front of people. It's so much easier. He said, yeah, but you can influence so much more people if you use your voice. Use the voice that I gave you. So a little bit after that, the story doesn't stop there. Someone approached me. They said, Ryan, I want to take you out to lunch. I said, okay, free lunch. What? I'm not going to say no to that. So we went to Chipotle. It's a great place. Yep, hey, yeah, okay. We went to Chipotle and we sat down, and he was, the first thing he said, Ryan, I think what you're doing is great. You've been juggling, and I see what you're doing. I see it on social media. I see all this stuff. But I think you can do a lot more. You can make more money. I said, okay, make more money. Cool. He said, I think you can do so much more if you begin to talk about your talent instead of actually just doing it. There's more money in talking. People will pay you more. I said, okay, I'm a little interested now. It kind of got me thinking, because God, he spoke to me, and he said, he told me that same thing a little bit before. And then what happened was he sent someone to confirm what he was talking about. Has that ever happened to anyone before? So that's a little bit about my story. Now you know what I do. I want to talk a little bit about why I do. Why I do what I do. Because it's super important that you have a why behind whatever it is that you're doing. Because if you don't have a why, then you're not very clear on where you're going or what you're trying to accomplish. So I remember when I was in high school, I was doing this interview. I was a senior in high school, and at the end of the interview, he asked me one last question. He said, Ryan, I got one more question for you. I want to ask you, why do you do what you do? And I looked at him just like those kids looked at me at that birthday party. I said, I have no idea. I don't know why I do what I do. So that got me thinking. I went home that night, and I started writing down exactly why I do what I do. I asked God, I said, show me a good reason for why I juggle. Like, it's not just because it's fun. It is fun. You should try it sometime. But I'm here, I want to share with you 3 points. This is for me personally, it might be for you too, but I want to share 3 points of why I do what I do. My number one reason for why I do what I do is because it influences people. If your dream doesn't influence people, if it doesn't involve people, then you might need to find another dream. I don't know. That's why we're here. We're called to make a difference in people's lives and to influence people, to inspire people. And I know it influences people because I remember I did this event a while back, and I was juggling at this event at church, and I did my thing. I walked around for a couple hours. I was juggling, it was cool. I didn't think anything of it, so I went home that day. I met up with my driver that day, who I say driver because it makes me sound big. It was really just, it was my mom, but. Gotcha. Oh, this is good. Okay. Yeah, okay. So I met up with my mom, and we got in the car, we drove home, didn't think anything of it. A few years later, I had this teenager walk up to me. He walked up to me and he shook my hand. He said, Ryan, thank you. I looked at him, I said, for what? I've never seen you before. He said, thank you. You taught me how to juggle. I said, again, I've never seen you before. How could I teach you how to juggle? He said, do you remember this event? And he named the event. I said, yeah, I remember that. He's like, well, I was watching you there. I was watching from a distance. I said, no way. That's really creepy. He said, I was watching you, and I kept watching you every day. I kept watching what you were doing every single day. And I said, no way. That's even more creepy. He said, and because I kept watching you, you taught me how to juggle. I learned how to juggle because you set that example for me. I was like, wow. And it got me thinking, you know, there's always someone in the room who is watching you and who's looking up to you. And not only that, there's always someone in the room who's watching you that has the ability to hire you or promote you. That's so true. And I learned that. That's something that I learned when this teenager was creeping on me. My number 2 reason for why I do what I do is because it makes people smile. I love to make people smile. It's one of my favorite things. Whenever I'm having a bad day, you know what I do? I go to the mall, I buy something, I go to Starbucks, I get a coffee, I go give it to someone because I want to see someone else smile because of something that I did. That's another reason why I juggle, because it makes people smile. Like, you don't even know why you're smiling. It's just, oh yeah, that's cool. It's really cool. I remember I was at this Halloween event. I was juggling, and I was in a parking lot, and all these little kids were running around dressed up as like princesses and devils and stuff. It was weird. And I'm juggling, and I actually have a picture. I wish I would have brought it, but I have a picture, and you're gonna have to believe me on that one. I have this picture, and in the picture, you see me juggling, and off to the side, you see this little girl dressed up. She was so cute. She was dressed up as a little bumblebee. I was like, aw. And she was just looking up at me with the biggest smile on her face. And that's the kind of stuff that keeps me going. That's the kind of stuff that I look forward to. Every time I go to an event, I look forward to seeing people smile because of something that I did. My last reason, my third point. Hey, you're funny. Hey, you're laughing. Okay. Uh-huh. I'm watching you. Always watching you. My third reason, my last reason for why I do what I do is because it's my calling. It's what I was called to do. It's what I was born to do. If you're not currently doing what you were called to do, or what you want to do, or what your dream is, then you should at least be doing something that's a stepping stone to get you to where you want to be. Does that make sense? Am I making sense? Anyone else creeping on me? No? No? Oh, you are? You can. Go for it. Anytime you want. All right. I seriously, I do love juggling. Somebody say why. Why? Oh, I'm so glad you asked. I'm going to tell you why in a second. Here we go. I love it because it's taught me a few things along the years. It's taught me, one thing is taught me consistency. That you're not going to get everything on the first try. That when you apply to that college and they say no, do you just stop? No, you keep doing what you're doing, because sooner or later you don't know how close you are to that breakthrough. You don't know how close you are to landing that job in that corporation or that company. I remember I played soccer in high school, and my particular job on this team was I had to run a specific route every single time that my team was on offense. So every time we got the ball, I would sprint down to the corner and cut in. Got the ball again, sprint down to the corner, cut in. I did that the entire game, and I never touched the ball. So you know what I did? I pulled a LeBron James, I flopped, I acted like I was injured. Amen. I acted like I was injured, and I made sure my coach was aware of that. So my coach, he called me off. I walk over to the bench. I take my jersey off. I throw it in my bag. My coach says, "Put your jersey back on." So I walk back to my bag. I put my jersey back on because he was scary. We called my coach Beowulf for very good reasons. He was a scary person. So I got my jersey back on, and I told him, I said, "Coach, they're not even passing me the ball. Like, what's the point of me running the same route every single time?" He said, "Get back in the game." I said, "Okay." So I got on the line. I got back in the game. And you know what I did when I got back in that game? I made that same route. Sprint down to the corner, cut in. sprint down to the corner, cut in. Towards the end of the game, after not touching the ball one time, you know what I did? I made that run one last time. I sprint down to the corner, I cut in, they passed me the ball, I score. What would have happened if I would have, after doing it once or twice or even 10 times, what would happen? We might not have scored. I don't know. It's all about consistency. Another thing is, it taught me never to be satisfied with where you're at. You can always go to the next level. You can always grow. You can always be better than you were yesterday. When I first started with 3 balls, I was juggling and I got it, but that was no longer satisfying to me. That was no longer entertaining. So I grabbed another one. Now I'm doing 4. And I'm doing 4, and soon enough that becomes too easy for me. So you know what I did? I grabbed another one. And after that, I started grabbing something bigger, clubs, and then I started grabbing something because it was a different shape, so I grabbed rings. Then I grabbed some chainsaws. Oh, yeah, that's right. No, that's the thing about, I haven't done chainsaws, and I probably never will. But that's the thing about kids. Like, I'm in front of kids a lot, and they always tell me, I juggle chainsaws, blindfolded upside down above poisonous snakes. Like, you have no compassion for you. Like, you don't care about me. Oh, those kids. Come on. Okay. I'm getting a little upset now. Okay, getting off track. I love it. I love juggling because it teaches me growth. It teaches me to always go to the next level. In order to go to the next level, you also need the right people around you. The right friends that are surrounding you, your closest friends. Because you can't think that you can just do it all on your own. Growth is what keeps you going. You got to have those right people around you. I don't know. Should I? No. Sure. Okay. I don't want to cry. Like, I told myself, okay, should I? Okay. I'm not going to cry because I'm a thug. Okay. Bye. This past June, I started hanging out with a different group of friends. Oh, come on. I started hanging out with a different group of friends, and these specific individuals, they were driven, they were motivated, they were successful, they were happy. And I started hanging out with them, and every night that I hung out with them, I would go home that night and, come on. I don't got much time, do I? Maybe I should just move on.
Go for it.
I was around these people because they were successful, but every night I would go home and I would throw a pity party for myself because I'm not where I want to be, and I'm not up there. I'm not up there where they want to be. I didn't think this would happen. They were always up here, and I was down here. And my perspective on things was, if they're up there, there's no way that I can be up there. So I'm going to stay back here in my comfort zone. That was my perspective on it. I had the wrong perspective. You see, the same people that I was allowing to make me feel comfortable and make me feel down here were the same people that I could have saw them up here and think, why can't I be up there? You see, I had the wrong perspective. Have you ever had the wrong perspective? Is worth so much. You know, if you go to a hotel and you get a room that's closed in on all sides, you pay this price, right? But if you get a hotel room with an ocean view, you pay this price. It's worth more than what you think. And ironically enough, that I stand here today on this stage about to share with those same 3 individuals. When you hang around the right people long enough, consistency. When you hang around them long enough, you're not going to have any other choice but to grow and go to the next level. I came up with this acronym. I love acronyms. I feel like everybody else does too because they're easy to remember. Anybody ever been afraid of something before? I have, many times. I came up with this acronym for FREE. Fear. Thank you. I came up with this acronym for fear because I was afraid to be around successful people because I was thinking that I was down here. I thought that they were just going to keep me down there and that I was going to stay in my comfort zone. But something amazing happens when you let go of fear. And I'm about to go over that. For number one, F in fear. When you let go of fear, you're free. You're free to do so much more. We were in Orlando last week. And if you know anything about me, you know that I am afraid of heights and I'm afraid of tight spaces. You know how we got to Orlando? We took a plane. And if you know anything about planes, you know that a plane is a really tight space. And a plane goes really high in the air. But what would have happened if I would have stayed here in Missouri, 30-degree weather? What would have happened if I stayed there instead of getting on that plane, facing my fear head on, and flying to Orlando, 80 degrees, getting sunburned and stuff? There's so much more on the other side. If you just you gotta face your fear. You gotta face it head on, and get on that plane to get to your destination, to get to where you want to go, to heaven, Orlando, whatever. For E, when you let go of fear, you let go of your ego, your pride. You let go of having that big head of, well, I can do it all on my own. I don't need anybody else. I don't need them around me. A, when you let go of fear, you get a new attitude. You get a new perspective. You get a new value. Perspective is valued at a lot more than you realize. And my last one for R, when you let go of fear, you're able to receive so much more that God has for you. You see, when I'm juggling, if this hand wants to hold on to the good thing I have, then I can't receive the next thing that's coming in. Does that make sense? I gotta learn to let go of this pride, this ego, this fear, so I can receive. I gotta learn to let go of the good thing that I have so I can receive the great thing that God has for me.
Amen.
You have to let go. Somebody say this with me. Say, let go.
Let go.
Let God.
Let God.
Somebody else say this. It's my time, to activate my dream. Thank you.